Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Chair, Commissioners. Appreciate this opportunity and the opportunity for the people to put an important measure on the Sarasota County election ballot in the general election in November. After what you passed previously, this may be the last chance people really have to put citizen-initiated charter amendments on the ballot. We do hope, again, with regard to that prior measure, that people can see through the confusing wording that's being presented and reject that. But I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Sarasota Alliance for Fair Elections, member of their board, who has achieved this objective of getting sufficient signatures both through volunteers and through paid petitions. Such a daunting number, 15,000 plus, that it becomes virtually necessary to do that. And we'll be giving the voters this choice. This is a very important choice for the voters. We're hoping for a big turnout in favor, because simply Sarasota County has grown too large for countywide elections. Last time we had countywide election or single member district elections, in 1992, there were 184,000 registered voters in the county. Today, that's at over 314,000, from 184,000 to 314,000. That's a lot of voters for a candidate for county commission to reach. That's a lot of voters for a county commissioner to seek to provide adequate constituent service and to listen to and to get to know the people in the district that they're elected to represent. Because even today you have to live in the district, but you're elected countywide. And that's the reason that of the 40 Florida counties out of 67 that have countywide elections, all but 4 are smaller than Sarasota County. The larger counties have come to understand that single member districts make sense in a larger county, and we're number 14 in population out of 67. So that's 90% of Florida counties with countywide elections for county commissioners, smaller than Sarasota County. Think of the little rural panhandle counties, where if it's countywide, you can get to know the people and communicate with them without spending a small fortune, or frankly today, a large fortune. Of the 13 counties larger than Sarasota County, only 4 have countywide elections. All the rest have single-member districts, or mostly single-member districts. And those that have a mix, which won't be on the ballot, so it's not a choice for people, probably will never be on the ballot. It's a question between our proposal and the status quo. In most cases, it's very heavily SMD, single-member districts, and a little representation countywide. And so it makes sense in a county that's grown as big as Sarasota County to have single-member districts. Even more importantly than making it more adequate and appropriate to serve your constituents and give your constituents a right to remove you from public office within your district if you don't represent them, their interests, it costs too much money to run for county commission countywide, rather than in a single-member district. To reach all voters countywide with a small 6x9 mailer, 40 cents times 314,355, that's $126,000 for one small mailer to all registered voters. Within a single-member district, that would be knocked down to $25,000. In the Republican primary, small mailer, all registered Republicans, $53,000. 1/5 of all registered voters, $10,000. And we know that typically the mailings go to frequent voters, but it's a proportionate reduction. What single-member districts does is give a principled grassroots candidate a real chance of being elected to the county commission. Today, when you have to run countywide, it's virtually impossible to do successfully without very big spending. And where does this big spending come from? From the donations of the development interests. You all know that better than anybody else. It's how the system is set up. Some of us would say that's how the system is rigged. We have a $200 limit on a campaign contribution in our charter. We'll see how long it takes for there to be a proposal to rip that out of our charter, but it's there today. But what the developers do, as you know, is use their subsidiaries to give multiple $200 contributions. In the last election 4 years ago, and again in this election so far, for one candidate, 6 developers issued 132 checks of $200 each through their various subsidiaries. And then there's the dark money PACs that the developers bankroll, tens of thousands of dollars invested in an outcome which they believe will serve them, and if it didn't, they wouldn't keep doing it election after election if it didn't work. But they have these flyers, these glossy flyers, again, very expensive, personally vilifying candidates that don't buy into their machine. So what this does, single-member districts, is give grassroots candidates a fighting chance of being elected. And it can be said, and I've heard one of you say at a recent meeting, that you could still put all this developer money into a single-member district campaign. Well, that's true. But the point is you would have somebody against that candidate, somebody offering an alternative that could, with the support of neighborhoods, maybe door-to-door campaigning, and some contributions, have a fighting chance to win. And we've seen that in Manatee County, which has mostly single-member districts. There's one election, 2016, Priscilla Trace won with $33,000, beating a heavily bankrolled developer candidate that spent well more than twice that, because there were 14,000 people that voted. You can reach those voters. Have a fighting chance with a candidate that is not chosen and funded by the big developer money. This also reduces the number of petitions required to qualify for the ballot. Today, 1% of the voters takes 3,144 signatures. Single-member districts, that gets reduced to 629. That gives more of a chance for people to get on the ballot without forking over $5,000, more than $5,000 to qualify by check.
I got a question. I want to stop the time.
Mr. Carrizo,
Thank you.
Only because.
Thank you for your interest.
Say that again, because what is the actual number you have to get of the?
Okay, right now, you have to get 1% of the voters who will vote in your election, who are registered and eligible to vote in your election. What's that?
Right now it would be 1% of 300 and something thousand.
No, 1% of all the voters in the county,
Right.
which calculates out to 3,144
And you're
signatures.
saying with a single-member district, you would have to get,
Get 1/5 of that, approximately. The districts aren't
I
exactly
never
even.
actually knew what that number was. I was just curious.
Yeah,
All right.
I was curious too, and asked Ron Turner and got the
yeah.
information. So again, that's going to encourage access to the ballot by regular people that want to run, that don't have a big money machine behind them. This also may increase voter turnout, because you're going to have candidates that have to campaign within their district. People are going to know their candidates better. The neighborhoods and other voters are going to require the candidates to address the issues, not just campaign on gun rights and immigration or some other national issue. They're going to have to address real issues of the people in the district. So I'd anticipate that that will have a favorable impact on voter turnout, because people will realize they can make a difference with their votes. It's been said this will create ward politics. Well, the human nature of most legislative bodies, county commission, state legislature, otherwise, is to be collegial. There's exceptions, but to work together, maybe in the hopes of getting your turn at serving as commission chair, or when the time comes to have the interests of your district heard by the others. And frankly, if this whole idea of some commissioners ganging up against the others were to take place, you'd see that in the Florida legislature today. And you don't. You don't get Miami-Dade and Broward and Palm Beach and Orange ganging up, getting all the dollars for themselves and shutting out the smaller counties. It doesn't happen. The goods get spread around.
I can't resist. Do you think that's maybe because that all goes on behind closed doors, though? Because you don't think there's any horse trading that goes on there? No, again, I can't resist.
But the result is horse trading that benefits
so the
everybody.
ends justify the means.
No.
Okay.
The end result is horse trading that benefits the whole. And I would suggest to you that's what you'll get, just like single-member districts in the legislature. And by the way, 3 legislative districts just about can fit within Sarasota County. We've grown that big. But what you're getting with those single-member districts, I would suggest you'll get here. You'll get advocates from each district. Somebody maybe from Northport, somebody from maybe up near the airport will be representing their district as an advocate, and they'll all come to the table, and the better good will be done. That's what I've seen with other single-member districts. I've not heard any horror stories. I'm sure some will come up with some. But I would suggest to you you'll have a more efficient system, a system in which each district is represented for the benefit of the whole. And after all, as you know, most county commission votes don't deal with individual districts. They deal with countywide efforts. It's been said this has been attacked as a partisan effort just for the Democrats. Well, it's not. I'm a lifelong Republican, starting with my campaign efforts such as they were for Barry Goldwater at the age of 13, long time ago. And maybe not quite as long ago, but a while back too, founding president of the Sarasota County Young Republican Club, vice president, acting president of the Siesta Key Republican Club, member of the Sarasota County Republican Executive Committee for many years, just to name a few of the leadership positions I've taken for the party. I believe in the party. And there are the Republicans supporting this effort as well. There are independents, and there are Democrats. And I'm sure a big effort will be made to point to the money that came from some principled Democrats who believe that the system should be reformed, and we welcomed that money. But this is about the issues that I described. I certainly, for one, am not devoting the kind of time and efforts and money I am to this effort because I'm doing it to help the Democrats. I'm doing it to reform the system for everybody, Republicans, independents, Democrats, other parties included. So this should not be made a partisan issue, but I understand that there'll be efforts to vilify this. The big money machine will stop at nothing to destroy something that will upend their advantage and keep the control that they now have over the system as it is. So you'll hear that attack aimed at the Republican voters, no doubt. You'll also hear that it's better to be able to vote for all 5 county commissioners. Well, I would ask to voters that right now are faced with just these mailers they get, not be able to really effectively find out who the opponents in the various races are, how that's working for you today. It is not working today. It is working for the big developers that benefit from it by the big money that it takes to run a countywide county commission campaign, but it's not working for the regular person. Our voices are being drowned out, even if we can vote in 5 races, in being able to have an impact on even one. So this is a very valuable reform for that purpose. Another thing you'll be hearing is that we tried single-member districts. We had it in 1992, and it didn't work. So the voters saw the wisdom of repealing it 2 years later. Well, in fact, it did work. The people elected Jack O'Neill, a very capable, independent representative of the people in his district and the county as a whole. He fought for the interests of the people at Siesta Key. He got elected because he was respected as a leader on Siesta Key. He didn't need the developers' money, and he didn't serve the developers once he got elected to office. And that's why the development interests, I was hearing this, well, over there across the street in that room at the county commission meeting when it was held there, when the development interests got up, asked the county commission to put a repeal on the ballot, and the county commission jumped all over themselves, agreeable to do it, and put a repeal on the ballot that was worded in a very biased way. And then the developers formed a PAC and raised big money to get a repeal through. And unfortunately, there was not an effective campaign to oppose the repeal. I was active at that time, and I know exactly what went down. So, and again, in 1992, we had a much smaller county in terms of population. We have grown 70% in terms of registered voters since we last had single-member districts. It was a good idea then. It worked for the people then. It didn't work for the big money development interests that love expensive countywide campaigns. And And I won't get into the consequences of developer monies dominating our politics, other than to say that politics determines policy. And you have seen me come before you so many times over the decades. You and your predecessors have been doing this since the mid-'80s. And seeing vote after vote after vote, with some exception, and I relish those exceptions, but with some exception, they have tended to favor the developers, particularly in recent years, when the developers have poured so much more money into county commission campaigns than ever before. They have an edge. None of you in your hearts can deny that when something comes in and Pat Neal's asking for something or Carlos Roof is asking for something, of course you'll say it, but in your hearts you know that when they gave you so much money to help you be elected, that they favored you with approving you running as a favored candidate, because you know they do that every 2 years. They basically decide who gets to run with the viable chance of winning. It may not first time be their idea, sometimes it is. But they have an edge, and that edge turns out in policy. As I said, why would they keep doing it? Pouring tens of thousands of dollars into campaigns if they didn't reap millions in return. They're not stupid, they're smart people, they're successful people. They do what works. And this system we have today of expensive countywide elections for county commission works for them. And that's why the comprehensive plan got gutted to take out all kinds of good protections for neighborhoods and the environment and our traffic mobility. That's why impact fees are less than they should be. That's why I could go down a litany of points to show how developer domination of our system by expensive countywide campaigns has been adverse to the interests of all the rest of us in this county. And it's going in the wrong direction. You know, the secret is out. I mean, Sarasota County is popular. We're rated not only as the best place to retire, but as the sexiest city in America. You know, there's glossy publications all over the place, from Vogue to the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere, saying what a great place this is to move to. And in light of that, we ought to have stronger growth management policies to make growth pay its own way, to protect our roads from being gridlocked, to protect our natural environments. The developers build around it, not over it, to respect the rights of neighborhoods, to have compatibility. But policies protecting all those interests were stripped out of the comprehensive plan in 2016. And time after time after time, proposals come before you when people just can't believe that something was approved or something got 2 votes, even if it was defeated. Although I won't get into the details of that, but I think you know which one I'm referring to. And think, why on earth could that get any support? But it does, because of the system, because of a rigged system. And I am so heartened by the fact that throughout the United States, I keep seeing this time and time again, people are becoming more aware that the system is rigged against the regular person by big moneyed interests that undertake to buy policy through their large campaign contributions. And just like Bernie Sanders is making an issue of that, Donald Trump said, drain the swamp. You know, the system is rigged against you. What's that?
You shouldn't drain swamps. It's not environmentally sensitive.
Protecting the wetlands.
Totally against draining swamps.
He's talking about the political swamp, and that's one swamp, unlike real ones, like at University Parkway and Honoré Avenue, which should be drained. And single-member districts will go a major step forward in draining the political swamp in Sarasota County. So we haven't had single-member districts since it was repealed in 1994. We've grown hugely such that the problem is greater than ever before. Now is the time for us to reclaim a system which gives neighborhoods more power, which gives grassroots candidates a chance, which gives everybody running for office a reasonable prospect of being elected without being asked to take campaign contributions which taint the process by their magnitude. And that's why we are hoping that come November, that we'll have a chance to get single-member districts back again. We're hoping if it passes, you don't immediately put repeal on the ballot. I'll be holding my breath for that. But we are certainly hoping that the people look past all the glossy mailers, trying to deceive them into thinking this is a bad idea, and for the kind of reasons that I think I've refuted here today, and vote for single-member districts to return policymaking because of political decisions back to the people of Sarasota County. It's the biggest thing that could ever possibly be done. So you don't get votes like you unanimously just saw to effectively destroy the right of the people to put charter amendments on the ballot through citizen petitions. So you don't see all kinds of other decisions that are made for the big moneyed interests against the interests of the people. So we are hoping again in November that Democrats and Republicans and independents and voters of minor parties join together enthusiastically and flood the ballot box and vote in favor of single-member districts to restore principle once again to Sarasota County. Thank you for your considerations, and thank you for putting it on the ballot.
Sure. Thanks for laying out the issues.
So is he for or against single-member districts?
Yeah. And thanks for recognizing that Sarasota County is one of the best places to move and live. Makes me feel at least some decisions this county commission and previous ones have made have been pretty good. So that goes to the open to the public now on this issue. I didn't ask, and I apologize, Mr. DeMarsh. I mean, on this one, I didn't ask for staff report. I didn't.
I don't think one's necessary.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
The amendment's
Okay.
clearly written, and
Yeah.
the ordinance picks it up.
I
Okay.
mean, just out of curiosity,
Sure.
I mean, you know, for the record here, maybe try to facilitate this. There's no issues with this. This was drafted in a competent and compliant manner. There's no,
Not aware of any issues, or I'd bring them to your attention.
And that's why I mentioned
right,
Ed
I mean,
is the.
not that I don't want to hear everyone advocate about it. That's perfectly fine, but I mean, at the end of the day, it seems to me like we're going to vote to put this on the ballot, and
That's our only option.
that's
And
the option. I
and
look
so-
forward to having a public
Yeah.
debate with Mr. Lobeck at any time. We'll get closer to
Right.
it. I'm ready. I'm ready for you down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good public debate. The pros and cons, you laid out the pros for it. There are cons to it, and let's
Yeah.
have that public debate. It's just not going to happen here today. That's not the purpose of today. So, Mr. Keeney? Okay. Terry Rawson? So everyone's gotten bored. Paula Berkowitz? I think I'm calling the cards for next week.
Okay, you're through one district. Let's
I
go to
know.
the next district. Yeah.
Mike Shalinsko, he was here before but left, so I guess he didn't come back. Margaret McLaughlin, yay, come on down, we at least get one.
I'm going to give you 20 minutes just in case. I'm just kidding. No.
All right, good afternoon, please just state your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes if you need
Right.
it.
My name is Margaret McLaughlin. I live in Venice. I did sign a card. I would just like to support Mr. Lobeck's position, and I would also like to say I think it might help you guys out, because right now you're expected to know everything about everything. And if you had a smaller district, if you lived in the district, you would know the situations. My husband and I experienced a situation, and my community experienced a situation 5 years ago. It took us 5 years to get it resolved to any satisfaction, and we're still working on it. And it was because it was impossible for the commissioners to understand the situation. It was impossible for the commissioners to go there and see the violations that were happening, and there were many. It was impossible for the commissioners to deal with this small issue compared to everything else that you deal with. And by the way, thank you for your patience. This is really to be appreciated. We appreciate all your service, all your public service. But I do believe that a single-member district would help all of you understand the issues of the local districts a lot easier. You can talk among yourselves about the issues and come to some conclusions on a county-wide basis that would benefit the county. The current situation is really difficult for those of us who are little guys. And we would appreciate your support, actually, for the single member idea. Think about it carefully, and we hope that you will support it in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kendra.
Hi, my name is Kendra Muntz. I live in Venice, and I do appreciate all your time and your patience with the people. As someone said, why would anyone ever want to be a county commissioner? But it's a noble cause. I'm happy to be supporting single-member districts along with our Sarasota Alliance for Fair Elections Board, and thank you so much, Dan, for an outstanding presentation. Dan is one of our board members we're very grateful for. We are grateful for all of them. People are concerned with the amount of money that is overwhelming elections at every level. And it really is, it's becoming, elections are bought by the people who choose, the candidates choose the voters, not the voters choosing the candidates, it seems. And as Dan said, young candidates would have a chance to run all over the county if they didn't have to spend enormous amounts of money. You might find some talent there that could really benefit the board, that could benefit the county commission. I'm just amazed by the incredible brilliance of so many people in our county. I've been attending some of the county commission meetings lately. People are really doing a lot of research. They've got a lot of talent, and I would hope that more of them would have a chance to run for a county commission. I think single-member districts would give them the chance. It could help benefit this county. It could benefit the people. We all need to work together for the health and the safety of our people and our environment. It's really no longer just a game to get elected and have power and go forward. People have to work together, and single-member districts will afford everyone that opportunity. So I hope that more people all over the county will get behind this. I know it's a big challenge. I know we have great opposition, but darn it, this is a good thing for the county, and thank you for putting it on the ballot.
Thank you. Gail Reynolds? Is Gail still here? No? All right. And then last but not least, and for one more time, Mr. Constantino, come on down.
Vice Chair Hines, thank you very much for the opportunity. For the record, Mike Costantino. I, too, advocate for the passage of this amendment. I'd like to bring to your attention that state and federal officials are elected by the members, only by the members within their districts. They're responsible to the people that are in their districts. What this measure simply does is brings the method of selecting our local county commissioners in line with longstanding federal and state methods of selecting representation. That's all it is. It seems odd to me that we have a system that requires county commissioners to have to be elected based on a broader geographical threshold than what we would expect from our state officials and our federal officials. What I think personally, and just having looked at it, Mr. Mayo, I see your signs all around town, but I don't see any signs at the corner of Stickney Point and 41 where you're not liked very well. I only see your signs on Siesta Key in front of the businesses that are benefactors of your vote to reduce the setbacks on Siesta Key. I don't really see them anywhere else. And I'll tell you right now, If you were running in District 4, you stand no chance of winning, none. Mr. Moran, your vote on the celery fields, your failure to recognize that the municipality of Longboat Key contributes 10% of the overall tax base to this community, no way you win District 1. Mr. Hines, I don't think you've
Can I
ever...
stop, Mr. Costner?
Sure.
For the record,
Yes.
Longboat Key's in my district.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate that. Is that funny?
It's hilarious, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I think that then I will put that to you, Mr. Caragiulo. And thank you very much for clarifying that for me. The failure to recognize that that much money comes from Longboat Key, the county's failure, in my opinion, to fund Arlington Park and various parks and the contentious issues with the city, I think you're setting yourself up to be sued once again by the municipalities like you were in 1979. I just think that I don't know that there's a commissioner on this dais that would be reelected under single-member districts, and that's proof in and of itself to me as a good reason to have single-member districts. So, thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. That takes all the cards on this one. Close the public hearing, unless there's any other questions. All right, so we're on item 16.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Mayo.
item number 16, to adopt ordinance number 2018-037. Move approval, and if I get a second, I will have some comments.
Seconds.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Mayo, second by Commissioner Caragiulo. Commissioner Mayo?
I mean no disrespect, and this is a very important subject. I got very concerned when I saw us give Mr. Lobeck 20 minutes, but I got through it. You did do a great job.
Was Lobeck here today?
Oh, he was here today. As far as the personal attacks on me that comes with the territory, I would dare say we'd have a lot more and better commissioners than me. I'll just use myself if there were no personal attacks. But I lost 2 precincts in 2014, and I lost 2 precincts last night.
2.
I think it's 2. It's
Well,
2.
I'm looking at it, it's 2.
It's 2.
Yeah.
And one of them by 100 votes, one by 21
24,
votes.
it looks like.
24 votes.
Got some work to do.
So you can all imagine my earlier demise. If I carried all the precincts, then I carried my district, including both those races. We said we'd put this on the ballot. There was no changes to it, and that's all I have to say on that.
There were changes. The ballot, we don't like them.
Okay. Then I thought you would have said something. I thought that you would have said something.
Commissioner Caragiulo?
Yeah, I'll support the motion. Certainly disagree with the idea, and happy to engage with lots of folks about it, but this is the essence of democracy. This is exactly what is supposed to happen, so there's only one thing to do here, and that's do the right thing. I guess I would ask one question, Mr. DeMarsh. Would this affect term limits in any way?
No. I mean, you have to implement things, but I'm not aware of a means by which.
I was just curious. I don't know why that just came to me now, but anyway.
I haven't actually researched it, but that'd be my.
No, don't do so on my account, just for the record. I'm just, yeah.
Commissioner Moran, anything? I don't have anything. Okay. So with that, I'll call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes 4-0. 17, open to the public. I don't have any cards. I think we're out of cards. There's no more in the back anyway, so, yeah, I mean, yeah. And then 18, other business. Mr. Lewis, anything? No? Okay.
Yeah, you know what, I did have one thing, if you don't mind, gentlemen. Mr. Lewis, I think a report regarding access and compliance and regarding beach properties, I mean, I understand, I don't have any reason to think that there are compliance issues, but I think that some type of report to how we might perform better, if that opportunity is available, I think is worthwhile. Thank
Sure.
you. Perfect.
All right, thanks. With that, we're adjourned.